If you're looking for deep sleepers heading into the 2025 season, look no further. We have them for you right here. I have Mike over from Dynasty Degens, and we're going to give you 6 of the deepest sleepers for either fantasy, Bestball, or Dynasty right here on the Fast Draft Podcast. All right, Mike, we're going to hop right back into it. I thought this was an interesting one because I pulled from Fast Draft ADP. And with the current average draft position where we're pulling from, all these players, like I said, are sleepers on almost any format. These aren't people that are going to be drafted even too highly in Dynasty. These are third, fourth round picks, and in Best Ball and redraft, they're going to be one of your last picks. And a lot of times, and especially in a shallow draft like the Rabbit tournament, they're not even being drafted at all. That makes someone like Anthony Richardson a legitimate sleeper at this point. And I think that's weird to say. But I mean, he's only being drafted in 26.6% of Rabbit leagues right now. He has seen almost a 5 spot jump over a 28-day period. That's not like majorly significant. The drum beat around is that he seems for real. I know health has been a huge thing. Daniel Jones hasn't been. He's had one season where we could consider him pretty good, not great, pretty good. Where are you at with Richardson this year?
Man, I mean, I love Richardson's ceiling. I think that's something I've always screamed from the mountaintops. Where I love this guy that can, put up 30 fantasy points a game. And if you're talking about the overall value of Richardson, you have to tap him, especially in Dynasty or whatever platform you're playing on. It just feels like free money at that point. You could see somebody that sits on the sideline all season, or you could see somebody that's going to be a dual threat quarterback and give you, like I said, 30 points a game. At that point, you're looking at somebody coming off of a significant injury, and that's always the question: is he going to be healthy? Is he not going to be healthy? Is he going to be on the field? But dude, you gotta go with the value at this point, and it's like I would take Richardson's ceiling over Dime ceiling any day of the week. Like you can say that Dimes might feel safer, but man, they weren't even close to far apart last year. They were both looking for jobs at that point. Daniel Jones, got shunned off of the Giants. It was just like there was no outcome where Daniel Jones was a better quarterback or in a better situation than Anthony Richardson this year. So it's really tough to put these guys in the same room and say, who are you going to pick with, Nerf gun to your head at that point. It's still going to be Anthony Richardson. And I think that ADP overall is going to reflect somebody that, you can't go wrong tapping this, because if he doesn't play, it's not like there's, loss as far as value goes.
Yeah, and especially in best ball, last season we were taking the Justin Fields risk that we were this year. You're drafting him as like a low end QB1 with high upside, or you were overpaying him as like a QB2, or maybe you were double tapping QB2s. Now, I mean, like, again, he's only being drafted in 26.6% of leagues. I think that he's a good bet. His stacks are incredibly easy, and I don't think they're unreasonable to target in best ball. Like Josh Downs is someone I like. Tyler Warren is someone I like. Jonathan, if you got Tyler Warren, Jonathan Taylor, and Anthony Richardson, I think that would be one of the highest bets that you could consolidate all the touchdowns on the Colts roster, or at least a good chunk of them. Obviously, Michael Pittman and Downs are there. I would say like a good 66% of them. But it's always been the health factor with Richardson. I hear that he's leaner. I don't know what that means now, but again, I think it's just baked into his price at this point. And if no one else is drafting him, it's if he's healthy. If you're taking him as a QB2 and you're pairing him with someone, let's say like Josh Allen or Joe Burrow, where you're basically taking Anthony Richardson as like a high insulator if something gets injured to a very good quarterback. I think that's smart strategy. In Dynasty, he's your QB3. QB4 sometimes he's free, and you can't really sell him in Dynasty for anything that you're going to feel is safe at this point,
Sure.
unless you're going to get another player. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. His value, I think that everyone, I had my stock in Anthony Richardson is way up there at this point because I
same.
was somebody that, values these rushing quarterbacks, these dual threat quarterbacks very high. Because like we've seen, the Jalen Hurts, we see what Jaden Daniels did last year, like the outcome is QB1 at that point because of the skill set, because of the fact that he can tuck it and run it for 80 yards whenever he wants or whenever he has the opportunity to. But the trade offers that I've been getting right now is a 25-second, 25-second. And I think the best offer I got was Aaron Rodgers in a 25-second, which is like, but you want to hold on to this guy at this point because he does have QB1 overall potential. If he can figure
Because
it
of the
out, if he
rushing
can put it
floor.
together,
Yeah.
and this is really where, I don't want to make the comp. I don't want to say it, but like somebody like Josh Allen, this is really after his rookie year, the conversations that you were having. Is he somebody you want to draft? Is he somebody that has the ability to figure it out? Obviously he figured it out and he figured it out the best way that he could, but it I'm not giving up on Anthony Richardson by any means. I don't think anybody else should, especially in best ball where you mentioned it. He's free. Nobody's drafting him in fast draft at all.
Yep. And another one, we'll just move on to the next one. Same thing here. I think, and this is why I've said that the price for Bucky Irving is a little too high. I think it's came back down to a reasonable point almost in redraft and best ball. But Rachaad White is going to be a thing. The Buccaneers have said that they see themselves as having two running backs, a 1A, 1B. Bucky Irving's going to get that early down rushing work. He'll get a lot of touches. He may even get 60%. But Rachaad White, especially in that receiving game role, is going to have flex or an RB2 upside week over week. In fast draft, he's only going in 30% of leagues right now. So easily get him as one of your last two picks. And let's say that right now he has his own standalone value. And we don't ever want to bet on injury unless it's just something that they have a pattern of. And we don't have that with Bucky Irving. We want him to be healthy. But if something does happen with Bucky Irving, right away, that is low end RB1 upside. So like right now, he's an easy button click and redraft from the depth that you can get. And again, in fast draft, that's a no brainer. Especially Jacory Krosky Merritt's creeping up now. I like him as well, but Rachaad White has already had production there. Jerome Ford is going ahead of Rachaad White in fast draft. I just noticed that. What are we doing? What are we doing, folks? I get that Quinshon Judkins is in trouble now, but look at Jordan Addison. I think Rashee Rice is probably going to get suspended. I think a maximum of 6 games, probably 4 games. That I don't think it's over for him. So where are you at with Rachaad White?
I love Rachaad White. I think Rachaad White is absolutely the best value when it comes to fast draft, when it comes to any running back. He has standalone value. We were talking about Rachaad White being the running back one last year. We saw what Bucky Irving did, but that's under a Cohen system. I don't think that we're going to see that same type of usage. And even if we're talking about usage from last year, Rachaad White still got play. We're talking about a 30-40% snap share. And that alone is going to give you at least a back end RB3 type of outcome when it comes to just standalone value. But then you bake into the fact that, Bucky Irving isn't a large back. Obviously, he plays with explosiveness. He plays with jump cuts, and he's, the style of play that he has. I'm not wishing injury on anybody, but like it's a high risk when we're talking about somebody the way that he plays. So it's like, if he goes down, Rachaad White is an RB1 right off the bat. We can talk about his, efficiency and everything like that, but he was running behind a different O-line his rookie year in the way that he came out. I think that this team is cohesive and it's gelled, and it's definitely got a lot of potential to net anybody behind that O-line to be a really successful back.
To me, the only negative, and I'm saying negative lightly. Let's just say, like, if I have to critique this Bucks offense, the only worry I have about it, and I'm talking about almost every piece at cost, with the exception of probably Chris Godwin at this point, uh, is the fact that Cohen isn't there. That's it. But I'm all in on Baker Mayfield. I'm all in on Mecca. If anything, I'm paying for my sins on Emeka Egbuka at this point. Like, I should have a lot more shares than I have, and I faded him, and I'm regretting that. Making that up for redraft, hopefully. But I love that Mike Evans is a decent bet at this point. Even I think Jalen McMillan, he's way down in the shadow realm now. If something does happen, we know it's next man up in this offense, and and they almost got their own handcuffs. So having McMillan as like a wide receiver handcuff, I think he's valuable. So Rachaad White, an easy target for you to have upside, or let's say you just have a zero RB build in best ball. Rachaad White's someone that you want to target. Or me, I'm big on the hero build, or I'm going to go too heavy and then kind of fade, target wide receiver, and then Rachaad White's the realm that shop in. We got 4 more coming for you. Before we go any further, if you like content like this, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. More importantly, you want to get in on the best ball action right now. Our rabbit tournament, almost 30% full at this point. It is the fastest and easiest way for you to get in on best ball. You don't have to worry about playoff spike weeks. It's 17 weeks, and whoever scores the most points, we keep it simple, and it's only 15 rounds, so it's fast. And if you want to get in on all of our weekly promos every Friday, make sure that you hit the link in the bio for our Discord. We're always trying to give you new ways to play the game and give you promotional discounts. You can use my code on the screen, Jag, right now, where I'll give you up to a $50 deposit match. So get in on that action today. All right, we will jump right back into it. All right, Elijah Arroyo. He's another one I was lower on than a lot of people. I did have a couple of shares just because he walked into such an easy situation, and he was so cheap even in dynasty. Right now, he is free money in any form of redraft and best ball right now. I mean, I think the drum beats for real. AJ Barner's there, and I think he might be a problem, but I'm hearing rumblings that the usage for him could be even, and I don't mean like he's going to play X like DK Metcalf was, but they want to use him out wide a lot more often and keep AJ Barner in the flex. Elijah Arroyo just seems like an easy bet right now, especially if you need tight end depth.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he slots in immediately at this point because he works as a big slot. He's somebody that, I mean, obviously they are pretty stout in this position, but like you can run him out as, a third wide receiver at this point. Like I'm very curious how the usage of JSN and Cup are going to how they're going to work together, being so similar as far as player wise go. But I think that all 3 of these guys, play in the same part of the field. And I think that they can run a really interesting offense. But he is a complete package as far as his skill set goes. People always roast me for throwing out this comp, but like I see a lot of Aaron Hernandez in his game. And I've always said this, that he has that ability to be that hybrid wide receiver tight end, which is, somebody that eats in fantasy, especially in best ball format. I think that you are looking at a guy that might start slow, but ultimately I think he's going to be the tight end 1 of this class, on this team. And I think that, you got to go after this guy. Where's he going in fast draft right now in the rabbit? Because I think that
right now he's only going, or he's only going in 28.4% of leagues. He's like ranked 162 right now. So like, yeah, some people are taking him as their last pick. So, and by some people, for me, if I take Trey McBride or Brock Bowers, I will target someone like Elijah Arroyo as my last pick, because in best ball, if you're spending that draft capital on those 2 guys, you're betting it all on him. Like I don't I don't want Elijah Arroyo to crack my lineup unless it is injury, or you're doing the complete fade and you just want to stack up like three guys at the bottom. So I think that's kind of like the build there. But I mean, he's barely creeped up at all. If anything, guys have fallen, and that's why his ADP's up. So
Yeah, I mean he's somebody that I would be targeting like in that range of like Chico Conquo, that like tier of tight end. I think he's such an easy tap, because I'm not worried about anybody ahead of him on the depth chart at this point. I think that it's wheels up. We saw that they traded Fant for a reason. I think they feel pretty comfortable with the Royal lining up as their tight end one in that team.
yeah, and I think tight end. I just feel like tight end the strategy is just so easy this year. I think that again, especially in the rabbit, I think you should pay up for Bowers and McBride. If they fall to me, I'm going to click the button. Then it's George Kittle. Then I don't care until now. Mark Andrews. I think Mark
Yeah.
Andrews is back on the
Mm-hmm.
menu. Then I just don't care again until I get to like Mason Taylor, and that like because then I would just like at that point they're all the same. Like Tucker Craft, I'm interested in. Like that's when I'll start shopping again because you get like Colston Loveland, Jake Ferguson. Who else is going? Then there's a huge drop off again in the rabbit. Then it's Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert in best ball, I like. I don't like owning Dallas Goedert to have to physically put him in my lineup, but he will
Yes.
crack a lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Britton Strange, I like. Like the TJ Hawkinson, I'm just why? I just don't want it at that point. Why? I get Evan Ingram, but I'm not sure Evan Ingram is going to walk in right away and be the second target on that offense. And guys, this is how fantasy works. It's math. I'm not saying that Evan Ingram isn't viable. I'm not saying that he's going to suck or he's going to bust. But at the end of the day, the points and his upside is probably acquirable much later.
Yeah.
Because we're hearing Devon Vele is the wide receiver 2 there. They love Pat Bryant. We know Cortland Sutton's the one. You basically want someone who's going to step in and be a top 2 target. What does Andrew Cooper say? Year in and year out. This is true. You want someone who's a top 2 target to be viable. If they're not, figure it out later. So Elijah Arroyo's in that figure it out later, and someone I think can be a top 2 target on this team. So
yeah, you want to be targeting. Yeah, I mean, we could talk about Coop a little bit, but you want to be targeting the 1 or 2 in an offense. If they're profiling as the third option in an offense, you can't trust that guy at all. That's why Goddard is tough. Great in best ball, but like there's always a coin flip of Devontae Smith or Goddard or who's going to eat on that team, because not all 3 of those guys eat in the same week. It's just kind of up and down. It's volatile. So yeah, it's so easy. Besides the 3 top guys, that you mentioned, it's like you can wait until the 16th round at that point and grab, like we said, an Arroyo or a Chico Conquo or I think I'm not sure where the guys in Green Bay are going, but that whole team scares me too. Like, I don't even know how that's going to play out, because between camp news and everything, not that I put a lot of stock into that, it's like Matthew Golden's looking good, and then Jaden Reed's maybe not lining up in 3 wide out sets. We got, Wicks and Dobbs and everybody. It's like there's so much movement on that team, and it's like I don't know how that's going to shake out at all. Like that team scares me a lot. But yeah, there's so much value, and it's a straight line for the most part after that top tier of guys.
And like, if you're on this channel, you're like, if you're new, great. This is great advice. If you're like old school vet, this is probably applicable to you because you're one of the 1%. It's don't overthink tight end, man. Like, and I know every guy is telling you got to get Brock Bowers, bro. You got to get Brock Bowers. They're right. Or you should just like, my thing is, and I know this is crazy, but when you get in those early rounds, I almost say like, don't get Brock Bowers, try to get Trey McBride. If you don't try to get Trey McBride, try to get Kittle. Cause I think McBride's upside is just as high as Bowers. And that's a whole round difference. To me, that's the difference of like me getting, I still think Ladd McConkey's fine in the second round, whatever. I know some people don't. I'm not one of those people, but these other Brian Thomas Jr. that you can get sometimes at the turn. That's the difference in having that as your wide receiver 1 or 2, or you're starting out with like Brock Bowers and I don't know, Bijan Robinson, and then you have Garrett Wilson as your wide receiver 1. Now I have builds with Garrett Wilson as my wide receiver 1, starting to worry me a little bit. Like it's another year, and then like is Justin Fields going to do it? So it's really thinking like that. Next is another player that's kind of going hand in hand with Anthony Richardson, and he's someone I was incredibly high on. I have so many shares. Adonai Mitchell. Apparently, he's been tearing it up against the Ravens defense. People are saying he looks like a star, and Michael Pittman continues to be an afterthought. We knew Michael Pittman was limited, and we know that they probably want the future of this receiving core to be Adonai Mitchell, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, Tyler Warren. If you take Michael Pittman out of it, to me, that's a perfect wide receiver room. You have an X, a slot, and a flanker that can go deep, and a stud tight end. If I was Drake May, I would easily trade everyone on the Patriots for that receiving core.
Oh, absolutely.
Probably right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you buy the hype? Especially, man, he is nothing right now. I don't think I have any shares of Mitchell on except with Dynasty, the ones that I do have already, because I've been fading the Colts so much. He's in 1.2% of rabbit leagues. That's deep shadow realm, man. Like that is high upside if it's for real.
Yeah, I mean, I was with you on Adonai Mitchell. Like the fact that he graded out so high in my model, the way that he can line up on this team, and he's got this skill set that is not similar to anybody on this team. So I figured that if they were humming, he was going to be that stretch guy, that pure X wide receiver that was going to be able to open up the defense a little bit. He's speedy. He's got that ability. And then I figured, we're looking at Downs and Pittman kind of working in the middle, but you're right. Pittman seems kind of like, if he's still nursing the back injury, I don't know, but we haven't heard any news from Pittman at all. And I'm buying it to an extent. Like I'm buying him to be able to be that stretch guy, to be that, he's got the ability to be like the Jameson Williams of this team, like I'm not saying that he's going to constantly, put up monster games, but I think he's got the ability to be like this, not pure boom bust, but like, he's going to have these Mike Williams-esque stat lines where he's going to have a big game and then really kind of disappear and then have another big game. And he might be a frustrating guy to own in any format besides best ball. I think he's the perfect guy to tap in a best ball draft and really hope that they kind of figure out the role, because he was playing out of his position last year because nobody could throw it past the 30-yard line, 20-yard line. There was no big bombs being thrown, especially when Richardson wasn't on the field. He wasn't seeing the time of day to even throw it down there either. I think you're muted, brother.
What's interesting is like when you look at this ADP data, you see where they're ranked, and then you see their percentage. Like he's ranked ahead of guys that are being drafted more often. So this is like 2 or 3 guys that just believe, sometimes,
Yeah,
and then and they're
absolutely.
taking him early.
Yeah.
They're just taking him early because
they just believe from day one, and they just have. It's probably you at that point. I don't know who's doing it. Maybe it's just you and I doing it.
Yeah, I have 0 shares outside of Dynasty. And Dynasty, he's one of those players where I just I can't afford to drop him, because he's not there yet. Next season is when you're thinking about drafting him. You're not thinking about dropping Adonai Mitchell right now. You just forget about him. And now that there's news, now I'm thinking if I have a Dynasty league with a bunch of thirds, I might trade him. And this is wild. If the Dynasty bros listening, I traded a second for Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. Context: I had 3 seconds. I just wanted to get the share. I can go get another second all season long. It's August right now, and
I mean,
it was like a late.
I believe in him. I believe that he's the guy over there. I don't even mind that at that point because I don't see any realm where he's not overtaken that RB1 position at
Yeah,
some point in the season.
at least I think it's going to be a 50 to 40% snap share somewhere in there where like I have a lot of guys in the comments because I had a short about Ja'Cory Crossky-Merritt. The biggest thing I've heard, Deebo Samuel's in the best shape of his life, and Austin Eckler is like the heart and soul of that team. I'm not I'm not hating on Austin Eckler, guys, but do you remember like his last season at the Chargers where he was telling people don't draft me essentially? you know? like
Yeah.
like
He was like, I'm cooked, like he was going on podcasts saying, I'm probably not going to give you what you want. And that's
yeah,
pretty disheartening, honestly, to even hear that. I mean, he's a great guy, dude. Like he's been in the fantasy community. He gives everything he
yeah,
has on the field. He's a good locker room guy at this point.
and that's what I'm saying. Like this isn't Austin Eckler the player. This is Austin Eckler the fantasy asset. I just can't see a world where Austin Eckler is going to crack my lineup. I don't see if Austin Eckler has cracked my lineup, most of that backfield has for like just for the sake of analogy died for the season. Like they are toast. That's what happened last season. Everyone was like he was a good change of pace back. No, he wasn't. It was Brian Robinson Jr. Then Brian Robinson Jr. got hurt. Then Austin Eckler got touches. That's how that went. And that's what just brings me to my point. Is that some of these guys, and especially the range that you're shopping them in, maybe you should take the young guy that has the upside and not so much bet on these old folks. I don't even know how we got here at this point.
I
That's a good
mean,
time
hey,
to move.
it's all good. We're just running through. But
Yeah, we
what we
move
got
over to
next?
KeAndre Lambert-Smith. He's been the hotness. We've seen one game of football. Calling it a game or football is a stretch because it was a Hall of Fame game. It was football. I'll give it credit, but it was a scrimmage game. But the hype seems to be real in camp. I love playing. What do these guys do differently? I don't think Trey Harris is the deep threat that a lot of people think he is. I think KeAndre Lambert-Smith is, and he's incredibly cheap. I was picking him up off the waiver wire in Dynasty. So in Bestball, you remember how I said Adonai Mitchell was at 1.2%? I had to scroll like one down further to get to KeAndre Lambert-Smith, also in the 1% range. There, like when I said there was one or two guys drafting Adonai Mitchell, there's only one who just happens to be a Chargers fan and read a beat report before someone else did here. Are you buying that hype here? Or because like right now, I think the Chargers are messy. You have McConkey, who I think is going to be the target earner, and then everything else. And then they just got Keenan Allen.
Yeah, I mean, I like Smith a lot more before Keenan Allen, and I don't think you're going to fade him in the dynasty streets. It might be tough in best ball. I just think there was a more clear path for him to get immediate playing time about 3 days ago, and I think that he's a raw talent. He's by no means a pure NFL ready prospect. I think that this is somebody that is going to be nurtured. He's going to need help. I think Keenan Allen could actually help him with this. But like he from a college standpoint, I didn't look at him as somebody that could be an NFL wide receiver. I saw nothing from him until he was a fifth year guy at Auburn, and that was not even an otherworldly. I just saw it as like he's a 20, how old is he? 24, 23. He's just an older guy going against young guys. And that's really, I got to stop thinking this way when I do my prospect, because it's how I got burned on the Tank Dell earlier and these guys that are affected by COVID seasons and stuff. It's like, it's not something that should be in part of my process, but it's hard to break when I see this guy that did nothing all through college and then transfers to a new team and, is in that 23-year season and he's going in and he's playing kids and putting up fine numbers. I like his talent level. I like his skill level. I just don't buy into him being an immediate producer. I think he's going to be frustrating. And I think that, he's probably not going to see the field in 3 wideout sets at this point. I think it's going to be, he might, but I'm thinking like a 30% snap share this year. I don't think he's going to be viable, to be honest.
So you think 3 wide receiver sets are Ladd, Trey Harris? Is it Quentin Johnston or Keenan Allen at that point?
That's the thing. Like it is, do we have Lambert-Smith playing over Trey Harris, over Quentin Johnston at this point? It's hard, man. Like I think that we see the preseason hype, we see him playing, but like, do they give up on QJ in 3 wideout sets this year? All of a sudden?
I mean, I still see drops in camp. Like that's not, I know there's going to be drops in camp, but it's the same, like it's the same hand clapping crap that he does that just doesn't like
and DC can only save him for so long, but I think we still see him this year. I think that what was he? Was he a first rounder? They've spent a first rounder on him, right?
Yeah. He was the 3rd wide receiver taken in the first round.
I don't know. I mean, we see what happened to Dotson already in the same draft class. If they're going to give up on him, it's this year. But then you have to question: is it Trey Harris or Lambert-Smith now? Like I don't have enough to believe that he's better than Trey Harris at this point. But
Rondé Gadsden's not nothing either. Like he's another one.
It's just it's a messy situation to be betting on a late round guy in. I think that I would much rather him, sitting on the Patriots. I would feel good about him. You know what I mean? Like a team that doesn't have, such a messy wide receiver room. And I'm not going to say he can't play. I just think he's got a tough road to travel to get to that point where he's getting above 50% snap share.
Yeah. Like, compared to some of this other camp hype, I've made real moves to get Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. If there was a dynasty league that Woody Marks could be drafted in, I probably have him in. I probably have Kyle Monangai. I've made moves for those guys. KeAndre Lambert-Smith is fab to me for right now. Yeah. And then in best ball, it's hard for me to draft KeAndre Lambert-Smith when Kyle Monangai is after KeAndre Lambert-Smith. There was just a report that like he's firmly entrenched as the RB2 and running with the 2s. I think Rashard Smith is a better bet. Adonai Mitchell's in that same range. Elick Ayomanor is going right ahead of KeAndre Lambert-Smith. I would rather.
I know that's your boy. I know that you. Oh man, I feel like I had so many drafts before the NFL draft, and I got that name hurts me a little bit, but I still have hope. I still have hope that he's going to carve out a role on a team that looks like it's wide open. I don't know how the depth chart's going to look week 1 over there, but yeah, I would take all those names over Lambert-Smith right now. And you can't really. I don't know. I can live and die by this, but it's like I can't see a world where he's going to be fantasy relevant in best ball this year.
Okay. I guess we agree there. We'll go to the next one. We're going even deeper, man. Like I said, this was deep sleepers. I was some sicko stuff here. Tory Horton for the Seahawks here. I would rather have Tory Horton than KeAndre Lambert-Smith.
All day, baby. All day. All day.
And he's going in 0.6% of rabbit drafts right now. You got to think about it. We just talked about Elijah Arroyo. The Seahawks have 1,000 slots right now, or Z players. Like I think JSN can play. He can flex out a little bit, but they don't have a true X deep threat. It's just Cooper Kupp, who's slot and he's old at this point. Elijah Arroyo, old. AJ Barner, he's a tight end. He's a pure wide tight end at that. Tory Horton, his competition. Let me see if this is correct. MVS.
Yes.
That is Marquez Valdez Scantling. That's it, guys. And we know what MVS has done in this system, in the Kubiak system before, because we saw that with the Saints. Tory Horton fell to the third round because he spent almost 2 seasons injured, and his quarterback was Braden Fowler Nicolosi. He had a very good sophomore season, very athletic, 6'2", when was like their punt returner in there. I live in CSU territory, and I worked in radio during his time there. Very familiar with the prospect. The raw talent has been there. It was just seeing a full route tree that we haven't seen before. He costs nothing. I mean, obviously you're in over him over KeAndre Lambert-Smith.
Dude, I still think about that game against Shedeur Sanders when they went back and forth and they were going to, was it double overtime? I think it was double, or it was OT at least. I know that. But
yeah, I think it went to 1 because, that game got delayed because of throwing stuff. Yeah, I remember that game. Yeah.
Yeah, Tory Horton, I think he had, 2 touchdowns, 140 yards or something in that game. He just was like nonstop a factor. And I could be making all those numbers up. I think I might be at this point, but I can just remember that game being so electric. And I'm just like, Tory Horton's for real, and yeah, you're right. He did deal with injuries the last couple of years and his quarterback play is off. But like, I always had him profiled as a second round talent, I was like, this guy's going in the second round. I think people are going to see through all the nonsense. I think that, as a player, he's closer to a Trey Harris to me, and value wise and the way that he plays. I think that that's really the bucket that I have him in. And I was constantly going over it pre-draft where I was like Tory Horton and Trey Harris. Like, I don't know. But that's really the value that I view him as. I think that he's going to stretch out this offense. He's going to be an immediate impact player for this offense. I think that he is somebody I would gladly take over the last 2 guys we talked about with, Lambert-Smith and Adonai Mitchell. I think that, he's the only guy they have. He's beating out MVS right now in camp. I have no reason to believe that he's not going to be a starter day one. I think that, he's just lined up to be a draft darling, especially in best ball, where you're talking about so deep that I don't think he's even being drafted by anybody right now.
I mean, even an underdog, and I know I shouldn't say that on this pod, but like other with deeper best ball drafts, he's probably being drafted. He's probably not being drafted in it as far as he's going at this point. Like all the player ranges that he's in, like Ben Sinnott, like Wade. Let's put it this way: he's so far deep in the player pool that there's not even true ADP for us anymore. So to me, he's easily free. He's probably fab in Dynasty that you could pick up right now and throw on your taxi spot easily. Or you can acquire him for if you got a bunch of spare thirds, send one for some of these guys, man. This is why I like this episode, because this gives you value in every format, and they're easily acquirable, even as a throw-in value in Dynasty. And you're not having to reach too far in ADP and best ball to where you're giving up on value over like a weird bet that an analyst said. So keep in mind, guys, I'm giving you these people at cost. I was saying that they should be drafted. I'm not saying that you need to reach for Elijah Arroyo in the 13th round or something like that, or he's going to be your tight end 1, But that'll do it for this episode. Thank you, Mike. We'll have him on here regularly. Pretty soon, we're going to move to a regular in-season schedule where we'll pretty much have the same format week in and week out. As always, hit the like and subscribe button. Hop in the Discord if you want in, especially before Friday on some fast draft action. I'm Jagger. That's Mike. Love you guys. We'll see you on the next one.
So I thought I needed. Ooh.